All right, well, today we're going to be covering the check-in process of the PRIED system upon initial check-in. So you'll receive two boxes, one being the large system that contains 90% of your system, another box which contains support equipment of that nature. So opening up the main shipping container, what we're going to do is take out the top as it comes in two sections. So the top piece of foam will come out. We'll set that aside. And below in the bottom section will actually be your PRIED system and the chiller itself. In order to pull it out, you'll see the two straps that are holding load and lift up. What you want to do is set it on the side here. That way you can get the backpack and the wand out without causing any kinks. We can bring these up to wherever table you're going to be working on. And the last thing we're going to bring out is our chiller. All equipment is very snug in here for shipping purposes. Make sure no damage comes on the equipment. Alright, so the last container has your chiller and our power and comms cable. So, in the box, what we will need for this is our jug of Cal. This is what we will use to fill up our systems in the chiller, keep our system at temperature. So we'll remove that. And your documentation binder for your system. So what our actual shipment check-in process will be in your documentation binder, so we can follow along with that. First thing, if anything, we want to check and make sure there's no excessive damage to our shipping cases or anything like that. It might indicate more damage on the inside. So if there's any excessive damage, take note of that, take pictures, and document what we have on our shipping case. It should be very nicely brought to you. Step 2 is going to be unpacking in what we did. Brought the top piece of our case out, which is going to have our backpack, our battery cables, batteries, fill kit, and the accessories kit. So everything you'll need to go operational with your system is in the main black shipping case. Right. Third step of what we're going to do is actually fill our system. So using our Cal mixture, which is part of our consumables kit, we'll use an 80-20 mixture. So 80% water, 20% of the Cal mixture, and you will use your fill kit bottle to do this. So, using our fill kit, take out our fill bottle, and both the power for the chiller and our comms cable, which will turn it on and off. Both of the cables are unique to which plug they have to go into on the chiller. So the power will only have 4 inputs on the plug. And you'll see, and it's dictated on the chiller, that says power 12 volt. Next is our control cable that says variety, and it is actually keyed on the inside, so pay special note to that of getting the key aligned, otherwise it will not sit in all the way. You can turn the cable in order to find it, and then it will drop in when you find the keyed location. Make sure they're all tight in. And what we're going to do is we will place our fill bottle in between our chiller and our system. As you see, it can only go in one way. Right. A decent amount of pressure will be needed in order to get it to set. Excessive amount is not, so if it's not seating all the way, what you can do is make sure there's no moisture on your on the connectors themselves, and then just reseat. There we go. What we'll do now is grab one of your batteries That's also in the shipping case. What you want to pay attention on the battery is our displays, all right? So there are indicators of how charged your battery is. What you want to make sure is that the difference between these two cells are equal. 1 bar difference is fine. Anything more than that might indicate a bad cell in your battery. On checking in of your system, the batteries come about 30% filled. So you should be able to knock out a fill using your batteries, but they will need a full charge upon arrival. The batteries themselves and the control cable are also keyed, so make sure you find the correct location. And then it will sit in very, very snugly. Oop, there. There we go. Alright, so on filling, what you want to do is, after hitting your on button, give the bulb a few pumps to prime your chiller. Okay? What has happened is help push the mixture into the chiller, that way it's not dry. You can see a lot more bubbles came out and the water level dropped. And what you want to see is the bubbles to stop in the water in the fill bottle to eventually become clear. That way we know there's no air pockets in our water lines of our entire system. It's looking a little better. I don't see any more active bubbles coming out. You can still see the flow going on in there, which just indicates that water is pumping through it. Your system should be good at this point. So all we're going to do is disconnect the chiller fill bottle. We'll stow these. Now what we want to do is, since we remove the fill bottle, just connect the chiller line to the system. Same thing. If it doesn't seat all the way or you hear the click, undo it by pressing the button and then reseat. Okay. What we'll have to do now is take off the external. So these cables will only be used in fill operations during normal operations of the PRIED. You'll have the operational cable which controls your chiller via the cell phone. Same kind of connectors on both of these. So they are keyed and can only go in their corresponding. Okay. And we'll take our other end, bring it over to the system. The bottom connector right next to the lines are where we're going to connect it. And again, everything is keyed. So put it on, slowly turn it until it falls deep in, and then go ahead and lock it down, and you will hear a snap, and backwards pressure won't fall out. Okay. Now what we want to do is we will grab our system power cables. They are together into the power. So now you'll grab your one battery that we used for the fill and the additional battery that's in your case. Alright, so these knobs along with the ones on this battery will help you read the battery life, how much power you have left on each batteries. So you want to make sure that no dust, debris, or anything is on those connectors. And then by pulling up on the strap, you'll see the hooks will seat in there and provide that pressure that need to keep the battery secured. Power cable is going to be the next one up. Turn. And we are good seated. All right. At this point, you'll see your keys are attached here. Okay. So as a safety feature of the PRIED, the key switch will have to be engaged in order for the system to work. Now we are it. Back in the case, what we want to bring out as part of is our droid, which is basically our user interface for this. Would be able to see everything that our PRIED is going to tell us. Power button on the side. And we'll put that aside and wait for it to turn. All right. At this point, what we can do is press the power button on our system. You'll hear an audible. Your chiller will kick on. And notice on our wand, our amber light has started flashing. This will indicate that the system is in its booting process, and once connection is ready and you're ready for operational, this will go solid. So until then, we're waiting. What we can do while we wait, we'll take off the lid. And on our lid here, has a piece of Teflon. This is in order to get our calibration, make sure our system has survived its shipping at certain levels. So we'll take this and we'll put it about 5 meters away for our shop. All right, so our shipment check-in, we finished with step 3, which is the filling PRIED. Step 4 is going to be established connection. So we've connected the chiller directly to the system, then connect batteries, turn on the power, turn on droid, and then once they both come up, our amber light has stopped flashing and our droid is powered up, which we are. And it's simple swipe up to unlock it, and then on here will be our PRIED app. So click on that and it'll open up. So overall process takes 30-45 seconds for this to go solid. Once it does, we'll revert back to your droid. So on here we'll have the 3 dots which connect, as on connections. Network operation is going to be Bluetooth, and that is what we want. So we'll go back. Again, the 3 dots. System settings. So you come in here and you set your password. Our password is all lowercase. And it's be safe, all one word. So once you have set in your password, go ahead and press back. Make sure your library settings are good and operational for what you would like to do. And once that, you should have your Bluetooth will light up. If it's not lit up in blue, go ahead and press that and you'll see your connection. Your mode will change once connection is established to actually read what mode you're in. We show iSafe right now. If you click on that, it'll change to Teflon test mode. Teflon test mode is what we will be doing for this first test. We'll pick back up our wand and we'll aim at our target, which will be, again, about 5 meters away from us. If it is not, we want to get to that range by just stepping back or moving your lid out to that range. It says double D10 trigger, so slight pull on your trigger will get your green beam to come out. Once your green beam is on target, fully depress the trigger, and you'll notice the blue amber LEDs on top of your wand are lit up. When in Teflon test mode, it will take 5 seconds worth of data, and another 2 seconds approximately to send the data over. You'll hear an audible alarm once it's done, and a red or green LED light will light up. For Teflon test mode, you should get a green, which will go away. Reverting back to our droid, you can see we have the Teflon detect. Go ahead and select that. Scroll down to your peak intensity, and that is the number that you want to compare with in your ATP, in your PRIED document binder. So what we will look at here is in our PRIED document binder, part of our testing procedure is the acceptance test. On here, it will have a reading for your Teflon under a 17 milliwatt, which is at the end of your life. So long as our peak intensity now is higher than that number, your system is good to go. So after we've done a Teflon test and make sure that the required level is reached, we're going to move over to a self-test. So after you do your Teflon test, we will need to do one self-test shot. So hit your 3 buttons, system settings, set mode, select self-test, and OK, and then back. You'll see your green mode has now switched to self-test from Teflon, indicating that we are now in self-test mode. Again, you will need 5 meters of unobstructed area between your system and your target. Pulling the trigger slightly in will send the motor to its focus location, so it's not sampling at your range anymore, but a designated spot in between you and 5 meters. That's why you need the 5 meters. So once the motor has stopped moving, finish pulling the trigger, and their blue LED will start. You take 5 seconds worth of data on the self-test. You'll hear your audible alarm and your green LED indicate. We can come back to our droid and see that we have now got a pass self-test. And here's our information. Nice, beautiful oxygen peak. So after you receive a passing self-test and a passing Teflon test, we have validated our system's performance levels. So now we can turn it off and put it into the operation mode which you will want. This will be through placing it into the backpack. And on the backpack itself already has your battery compartments on it, so we will drop our batteries in. On the other side is where we will be placing our chiller. It has those straps in here, so the MOLLE on it to make it extra stability. So I'm going to get that packed. Alright, so when the backpack comes all the way in the back, what we want to make sure is that most of our cables are going to be coming straight out of the top here on this. So we want to bring the zippers up to the top here, but we can't zip them all the way, otherwise we won't be able to get our cables that we need out. Just going to stand up our system now. I find it sometimes easier to work with the equipment being unconnected from the system and then connecting it after we've attached it to the backpack. Special care on the chiller on how you place it. You'll notice the safety in here. It says, so this side up, fan outlet do not block. Our chiller has to sit upright with this side being up. Any blockage of our fan, we will not be able to cool. Fan will not work, system will not cool, system will overheat and shut down. Very important that we keep this unobstructed from any obstacles up and nothing covering our fan or intake. Air inlet, do not block. Do not block fan, keep it upright. So on our backpack here, you'll have our straps and our mounting straps here. We will weave them in and out in order to get a strong bond. Up to 3. So we will take it behind all 3. Bring it up. Quick word on orientation. You can see we have our chiller with all of our cables going to the front of the backpack rather than the back. This is for the simple fact of when we have connectors here with our arm strap, we run into the possibility of putting our arm through, snagging one of the cables, and pulling them. So we avoid that by putting all the cables to the front and into the top. That way we don't possibly snag the cable with our arms. There are plenty of straps on here to make anything tight however you want. Make sure we do not kink water lines, because that's what is in this sheathing, is our water lines running from the chiller into our system. So although we want to keep things clean and tight down to our backpack, what we don't want to do is actually pinch or cause a kink in the water lines. That way it obstructs the flow to water to our system. So tight, but not pinching tight. Also a method for this, we could come through our cables, come through the MOLLE in the front. However you want to secure your cabling is up to you. Everything's set. Now our power cables with our batteries are going to come on the other side where our battery pouches are. Start with the bottom one, because once that is filled up, kind of hard to put in. Again, so I have my cables coming out towards the front rather than towards the back, just as an added safety measure. Excess cables you can bring back into the backpack. And stow them in a way where they're not going to kink once they're in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm sliding all excess in front of the actual backpack and bring up our zippers as much as we can. And we are now, whoop, chest piece. And you are now operationally ready.